Speaking to you this morning, providing a briefing, will be the Superintendent of the Maryland State Police. That's Colonel Woodrow, W-O-O-D-R-O-W, W. Jones III. He's also known as Jerry Jones. Colonel Woodrow W. Jones III, Superintendent of the Maryland State Police. Colonel?
I'm Colonel Jerry Jones, Superintendent of the Maryland State Police. With me today are Lieutenant Colonel Roland Butler, Chief of our Field Operations Bureau, and Lieutenant Gary Carpenter, Commander of our Waterloo Barrack. I'm here to provide preliminary information known at this time regarding a fatal shooting by a Maryland State Trooper early this morning on I-95. Just after 2 a.m. today, a uniformed Maryland State Trooper operating a marked patrol vehicle was working DUI enforcement on northbound I-95 in the Elkridge area. The trooper saw a red Ford Escape weaving across lanes of I-95 and exhibiting signs that the driver may be impaired. The trooper activated his emergency equipment and initiated a traffic stop in the area of northbound I-95 near Maryland Route 100. The driver of the vehicle pulled to the right shoulder of the interstate. Believing this was a potential DUI driver, the trooper called for backup. He got out of his car and approached the driver's side of the vehicle, making contact with the driver and sole occupant of the vehicle. The trooper saw that the male driver was exhibiting signs of impairment, and he saw alcohol containers in the vehicle. After the backup trooper arrived, the trooper asked the driver to exit the car so he could conduct a standardized field sobriety test. The driver repeatedly refused to get out of the vehicle. He provided no identification and gave the trooper what has turned out to be a false name. The trooper then saw the driver put the vehicle in drive, and he reached inside to attempt to stop the driver from fleeing. With the trooper leaning inside the vehicle, the driver accelerated away and drove down the interstate, dragging the trooper alongside of his vehicle. The preliminary investigation indicates the trooper yelled repeatedly at the driver, telling him to stop and warning him that he would shoot. The driver refused and continued to accelerate down the interstate. Fearing for his life while being dragged by the car, the trooper fired his department-issued pistol at the driver, striking him. The trooper was thrown from the car into the center median. He was found by another trooper not far from where the vehicle came to rest. Emergency vehicle personnel were summoned to the scene, and the driver was pronounced deceased at the scene. The trooper was transported to the University of Maryland R. Adams Cowley Shock Trauma Center for injuries sustained to his lower extremities. He was treated and released later this morning. The deceased is to believe a Hispanic male who had no identification on him. The Maryland State Police Homicide Unit responded to conduct the investigation, which is procedure for a trooper-involved shooting. The preliminary investigation indicates the trooper was dragged more than 2,000 feet, almost 1/2 a mile down the interstate. Investigators observed alcoholic containers inside the car and found a machete under the driver's seat within his reach. Investigators have been in contact with the Howard County State's Attorney's Office and will continue to brief officials in that office on the investigation process. Upon completion of the criminal investigation, it will be presented to the Howard County State's Attorney for review. The Maryland State Police Internal Affairs Division will also be conducting an investigation. The trooper involved is a 3-year veteran who is assigned to the Waterloo Barrack. He and other troopers on the scene have been both placed on administrative leave as the investigation continues. This is procedure whenever a trooper is involved in a shooting. The Maryland State Police is committed to conduct thorough criminal and administrative investigations of this fatal shooting. At this time, I'll be willing to take some questions. That matter's still under investigation this time, sir. Yes, ma'am. And to give the trooper backup, so when he's able to get the driver out to determine their level of impairedness, that you have someone there to protect people from potentially walking out into a travel portion of a roadway, or as you mentioned, getting into a car, driving out and further endangering traffic on the highway. The vehicles, likely the way they're trained, are parked behind the operator's vehicle. That depends on the totality of the circumstances. If the trooper suspected that there was impairment involved here, we certainly don't want that driver back out on the interstate and causing another crash or injury or a death of another person.
Are they trained specifically to credit?
It's one of those fluid motions. There's no policy that dictates that. It's at the autonomy of the trooper's discretion based on the circumstances that they have at the scene at the time. I'm sorry? No, we do not, but we do have in-car digital video footage of this incident that'll be reviewed as part of the investigation at this time, and will at a later time be reviewed based on decisions of the state's attorney locally. I'm sorry. That's still under investigation at this point. Yes. I don't have that information with me, ma'am. Not that I'm aware of. They're still working on the positive identification of the person who was operating the vehicle.
Why are troopers wearing body-worn cameras?
We have, for some time, had an in-car digital video system. As you see on our interstates here, that's where we spend a lot of our time. That type of system was chosen as best suiting the needs of what the agency does. That's been in progress for 5 years now, replacing a lot of the antiquated equipment from the 90s and getting it up to speed. So that's the decision that was made at the time that best suited the needs of what we do out here on our roadways. That's in process of being reviewed by our investigators at this time, sir. The way I understand it, it was captured, but we don't have any details yet because that's still under investigation. I'm sorry, ma'am. That determination will be made as the investigation progresses and upon consultation with the state's attorney here in Howard County.
Thank you all. You will have the identification of this